Hey, Soul Stories fam. We've got a sweet and totally swoon-worthy love story for you today. Let's jump in. Golden light from crystal chandeliers spilled down into the grand hall of the Metropole Hotel, where tonight's annual charity gala, awaited by all of New York, was being held. Camera flashes glittered. Dozens of reporters crowded at the entrance, microphones raised high, eager to capture every moment. This wasn't just a cultural and social event. It was the arena where the elite flaunted their power and connections. Behind the scenes, Lucas Hale stood tall, adjusting the collar of his black tuxedo. His face was sharp, his silver-gray eyes gleaming with the calm confidence expected of the CEO who held Hale Corporation in his hands. Tonight, he had planned to arrive with his fiancée, screen star Celeste Monroe, announcing their engagement and cementing their image as a power couple before the press. But life never follows the script. The phone in Lucas's hand vibrated. Celeste's name flashed on the screen. He answered, his tone steady. "Have you arrived yet?" On the other end came a weary, mocking laugh. "Lucas, I won't be coming." He froze. "What did you say?" "It's over, I'm sorry, but I can't play the perfect bride in your life. I have a new film in Europe, and honestly, I was never sure about us." Beep. The decisive sound cut everything off. Lucas gripped the phone so tightly the veins rose on his hand. He refused to let emotion show, but his spine stiffened like steel. At that moment, the event manager rushed over in a panic. "Mr. Hale, the press is waiting outside. Everyone expects you and your fiancé to appear together. We can't delay any longer." Humiliation. The word stabbed straight into Lucas's mind. If he walked out alone, he would become a laughingstock. A CEO abandoned under the flashbulbs. Tomorrow, his company's stock would surely plummet. And then his eyes caught sight of someone at the end of the hallway. Emma Clark, his new personal assistant, was nervously rearranging invitations, her face taut with stress, clearly unaccustomed to such opulent events. She wore a simple navy blue dress, obviously borrowed in a hurry from a roommate. Her loosely tied hair let a few strands fall, giving her an unexpectedly sweet look. Lucas suddenly heard the click-click of cameras echoing from outside. There was no time to think. He strode quickly toward her. "Emma!" She looked up, startled. "Yes, sir?" Lucas didn't answer. He seized her hand and pulled her toward the doors leading to the red carpet. "Wait, boss, Emma gasped, nearly twisting her ankle in her heels. But before she could resist, they stepped into the blinding lights. Hundreds of eyes turned, hundreds of shutters fired. In a mix of desperation and instinct, Lucas turned to Emma, slid his arm around her waist, and his lips claimed hers. Emma froze. The kiss wasn't a fleeting brush. It was possession, fierce and unyielding. Lucas tilted his head, forcing her to meet him, his strong hand anchoring her waist. His breath was hot, laced with a warm, musky cologne that made Emma's head spin. Her heart pounded wildly, her whole body locked stiff. The press exploded. Does CEO Hale have a new fiancée? Who is the mystery woman in Lucas Hale's arms? Lucas knew he had just shifted the narrative. What he didn't expect was to be swept away himself. When Emma's lips trembled beneath the pressure of his, when her small hand clutched faintly at his chest as if seeking balance, a jolt of electricity shot straight down his spine. Heavens, it felt like lightning struck him. This was supposed to be an act. Yet with every passing second, Lucas couldn't pull away. The kiss felt so real it stripped him of control. At last he released her, slowly, his lips still hovering, dangerously close. Flashes erupted in a frenzy. Cheers roared. Emma's eyes widened, her cheeks blazing crimson, her breath ragged. "Are you out of your mind?" Lucas looked deep into her, his silver-gray eyes now burning with an unfamiliar fire. He leaned close, low enough for only her to hear amidst the chaos. "I'm sorry, but I couldn't stop." Emma's words caught in her throat. Her heart pounded as though it might burst. Lucas's arms still held her tight, his gaze never leaving her face. Behind them, the world boiled with noise. But in that moment, Emma felt as if only the two of them existed. She had never imagined she would become the center of attention at such a dazzling gala, much less kiss her cold, aloof boss in front of the crowd. And Lucas Hale, the powerful, proud man thought incapable of being moved, was undone, his reason melting away by a single kiss. That glamorous gala night, under countless lights, one unexpected kiss ignited the beginning of a love story no one could have foreseen. The next morning, the New York Times lay squarely on Lucas's desk. Its bold headlines splashed across the front page. The million-dollar kiss, cold-hearted CEO, Lucas Hale, publicly unveils his new fiancée at the Metropole Gala. Beneath it was the photo, capturing the exact moment he tilted his head, lips pressed to Emma's, the flashlights glinting in their eyes, making everything look strangely perfect. Lucas sat still for several seconds. Instead of dissecting media risks, like he usually did, his mind replayed Emma's wide eyes from last night, the sharp intake of her breath when she was trapped in his arms. He had kissed Celeste Monroe before, countless times for the press, at movie premieres, even right on the Cannes red carpet. With Celeste, everything had been an arrangement, kisses for photos, to consolidate power. Those kisses were contractual, never trembling, never capable of knocking his heartbeat off rhythm. But with Emma Clarke, just one moment and he couldn't shake it. The image of her blushing, trembling, yet still holding her chin high beneath hundreds of cameras looped endlessly in his head. That unexpected sweetness, that staggering realness, had kept him awake all night. A knock on the door pulled Lucas out of his thoughts. Senior aide Mark entered, his expression grave. "The board wants to see you immediately." The boardroom on the 40th floor gleamed cold under the daylight, pouring through glass walls overlooking Manhattan. Every seat was filled, faces tense. Vivian Hale, major shareholder and Lucas's aunt, spoke first. "Lucas, do you have any idea what kind of circus you created last night?" Another member chimed in. "The stock is fluctuating. The press is calling her the B-list assistant turned million-dollar fiancé. We cannot let Hale Corporation become a laughingstock." Lucas listened, his fingers tapping lightly against the table. Normally, he would counter. This time, he could only see Emma's face, dragged into this storm by him. "I'll handle it," he said coldly. "Just give me time." Vivian narrowed her eyes. "You'd better stabilize your image quickly. A CEO ditched before the gala, replaced by his assistant. We cannot let shareholders question your ability to lead." Lucas gave a slight nod. In his silver-gray gaze flickered resolve, not only to stabilize the image, but to keep Emma by his side. Back in the office, Emma was hunched over her laptop, frowning at the flood of emails. News of the gala kiss was everywhere. Her photos blanketed social media. She looked up when Lucas entered, her blue eyes wide. "Mr. Hale, I'm so sorry about last night." "You don't need to apologize," he cut in, striding closer. "I'm the one who pulled you into it." Emma exhaled heavily, pressing a hand to her forehead. "I'm just an assistant. Now the whole world thinks I'm your new fiancé. Celeste's fans have sent me thousands of threatening messages. Do you realize? I haven't even returned the dress to my roommate yet." A low laugh slipped from Lucas's lips. Rare, deep, startling enough to make Emma freeze. He stopped in front of her desk, leaning slightly, voice dropping lower. "We need to turn the rumor into truth, at least in the eyes of the press." Emma blinked. "You mean you'll play the role of my fiancé?" "What?" Emma nearly dropped her pen. You can't be serious. Me? Pretend to be your fiancé? I don't know how to walk a runway. I'm not used to evening gowns. And I definitely don't know how to flash a star smile." "You don't need to know," Lucas cut her off, his silver gaze locking onto hers. "You only need to be by my side." Emma swallowed hard. She wasn't naive. She knew the consequences. The media already had the photos. The board would cling to them. And if she pulled out now, Lucas would stand alone as a fool. Yet she still couldn't believe she'd been dragged into this. "Number. I refuse," she said firmly. "I'm just an assistant. My job is to schedule meetings and bring coffee. I don't want to be your fake wife in front of the whole world." Lucas was silent for a beat, then stepped closer. The distance between them shrank to mere inches. Emma caught the masculine trace of his cologne in the air. her heartbeat skipping uncontrollably. Emma, his voice was low, steady, dangerous. The photos are crystal clear. If you pull out now, we'll both be ridiculed. The company's stock will nosedive, and you'll be branded a gold digger and crushed without mercy. Emma opened her mouth, then closed it again. He wasn't wrong. She sighed, bracing her hands on the desk, fighting to steady her thoughts. If I agree, then you keep your distance. No hugging, no surprise kisses, no K-drama wall scenes. I don't want to get dragged any deeper. Lucas's lips curved faintly, a rare smile but more dangerous than his usual coldness. That distance might be hard to keep. Emma glared, but heat crept up her cheeks. She knew she had just entered a contract without paper or ink, but one far more perilous than any legal document. Because once she played this role, her heart might not stay safe. And Lucas, as he left the office, couldn't deny the truth he'd just uncovered. He didn't only want to stabilize his image. He wanted Emma Clark. He wanted to hold her again, like on Gala night. And this time, he wouldn't stop. More than a week had passed since the Gala kiss, but the media frenzy hadn't cooled. Tabloids dissected every angle of the photos, some even publishing long articles comparing Hollywood star Celeste Monroe, the ex-fiancée, to the mysterious girl no one had ever seen before. Online chatter was relentless. Who is she? Just some B-list assistant. But look at the way Hale's eyes linger on her. Doesn't look fake at all. Could it be that America's coldest CEO was struck by love at first sight? Hale Corporation had no choice but to schedule a formal press conference to set the record straight. The board demanded a safe statement to kill the rumors. But Lucas saw it differently. This was his chance to cement the love story he was building, and deep down, to keep Emma by his side a little longer. That morning, Emma stood in the waiting room, her heart hammering. She wore a simple, elegant white dress, her hair neatly pinned at the nape of her neck, a completely different image from the assistant who usually darted through office hallways in oversized shirts. She looked at herself in the mirror and sighed. "What the hell am I doing?" she muttered. The door swung open. Lucas entered in a fitted gray suit, black tie, face calm and regal, as if born to rule the spotlight. But when his eyes landed on Emma, for just a moment, something unfamiliar flickered in his silver-gray gaze. "You look beautiful." The words slipped out, low and rough. Emma froze, then flushed instantly, waving her hands. "Stop. You're only saying that to calm my nerves." "No." Lucas stepped closer, his fingers brushing a loose strand of hair off her forehead. "I mean it." Emma swallowed hard, quickly looking away. "We should get out there. They're waiting." The press room was packed. Cameras, microphones, glaring lights. When Lucas took Emma's hand and led her out, a tidal wave of shouting and flashing bulbs erupted. "Mr. Hale, who is your new fiancée? Is this a stunt to cover up being dumped? What does she do? Is it true she's your personal assistant?" Emma was overwhelmed, her vision swimming. She had never faced hundreds of reporters before. The barrage of questions made her head spin. Lucas remained composed, his arm firmly around her waist. That steady grip made her feel, if only a little, grounded. Then a reporter shot up, his tone sharp. "Mr. Hale, rumor has it you're using this girl to salvage your pride after Celeste Monroe left you. Do you deny it?" The air went heavy. All eyes, all cameras, all mics aimed at them. Emma stiffened, her hands trembling against her dress. Lucas turned to her, eyes steady. In that instant, she read the silent message there. "Trust me." And then, instead of answering, Lucas leaned in. His lips brushed hers. The kiss was brief, but long enough for a storm of shudders to erupt. Emma froze, her face blazing scarlet. In front of that crowd, the kiss erased every excuse. It was undeniable proof of true love. The room exploded in a frenzy of noise. Lucas lifted his head, his hand still at her waist, his voice low but resolute. "That's the only answer I need." The press fell silent. Only when they were backstage again did Emma exhale sharply, glaring at him. "Did you just use me as your mute button?" Lucas tilted his head, lips quirking faintly. "It worked. I'll use it often." Emma's jaw dropped, words failing. She wanted to argue, to snap, but her heart was still thrashing wildly from the way he had looked at her. That gaze, dear God. It didn't feel like pretending. "Mr. Hale, I'm serious," Emma managed, still red-faced. "We had an agreement, remember? Keep your distance." "I remember," Lucas said smoothly, "but the press doesn't, and I don't want them asking questions anymore." Emma folded her arms, exasperated. "Fine, but next time, at least warn me before you decide to mute a reporter like that." Lucas leaned down, whispering, "How would you like me to warn you? A text that says, 'Preparing to kiss you in 3, 2, 1. Emma shot him a glare, then burst into helpless laughter. The news from the press conference instantly swept across social media. Photos of the press conference kiss went even more viral than the Gala kiss. Media analysts dissected their chemistry, dubbing it a real-life romance novel unfolding. Later in the office, Mark entered with a report. "The stock is climbing back up. The public believes it. The board is temporarily satisfied." Lucas nodded, but his eyes lingered on the photo of Emma on his screen. Her face flushed right after the kiss. A strange sensation rose in him. This arrangement was becoming harder and harder to control. That afternoon, Emma returned to her desk, sighing as she opened her laptop. But in her mind, the kiss replayed again and again. She tapped her forehead. "Get it together, Emma. This is just an act, just a lie." But her heart betrayed her. It kept hammering, reminding her how real it had felt. Across the building, Lucas sat in his spacious office, glass walls overlooking the city. He leaned back in his chair, eyes thoughtful. He had kissed dozens of times for cameras, but never once had his heartbeat slipped out of control like this. He knew it clearly. From that moment on, the first lie had awakened a dangerous truth, one he couldn't and didn't want to stop. The Hale mansion stood on a quiet street in the Upper East Side, framed by autumn maples glowing gold. That evening, Emma still couldn't believe she was being chauffeured there in the company car, nerves tying her stomach in knots. She had tried to come up with excuses to avoid it, but Lucas had only sent a curt message. 7 p.m., the mansion, training. Those last two words nearly made her snap her pen in half. Training? What did he mean, training? She wasn't an intern at some modeling academy, but in the end she went, reluctantly, because she knew, once you stepped into this game, there was no backing out. The butler opened the door and led her into a vast foyer. The high ceiling glowed under warm chandeliers. Lucas was waiting, dressed simply in a white shirt with his tie loosened. He looked younger, less forbidding, but still radiated that commanding aura that made Emma's throat go dry. "You're right on time," Lucas smiled, stepping forward. "Like I had a choice," Emma muttered, glancing nervously around. "So, what exactly does training mean?" Lucas extended his hand, palm open. "We'll start with learning how to hold hands like a real couple." Emma blinked, staring at his hand as if it were a trap. "Mr. Hale, I know how to hold hands." "No." Lucas shook his head. "There are 1,000 ways to hold hands, but only a few that make the world believe we're in love." Without giving her a chance to argue, he took her hand, squeezing firmly but gently, his fingers laced through hers, his larger palm enveloping her smaller one. Emma flinched, trying to pull away, but he held her fast. "This," he explained, eyes locked on hers, "is the possession grip. It says she's mine." Emma flushed scarlet. "I'm not some object for anyone to own." Lucas gave a soft laugh, shrugging. "I know, but out there, people believe in appearances more than truth." Emma looked away, flustered. "What's next?" Lucas stepped closer, sliding an arm around her waist. Emma nearly squeaked. "Hey!" "This is the protective embrace." He remained calm. "It tells people I'm shielding you." Emma's lashes fluttered, heat spreading across her skin where his hand pressed at her waist. Her heartbeat raced wildly. I think we should skip this lesson." "We can't." Lucas tilted his head, smiling faintly. "There's one final part." He stepped back, bowing slightly like a gentleman. "Dancing!" Emma gaped. "You can't be serious. I'm not even in an evening gown. You're in a dress, and I have music." Lucas snapped his fingers. Soft jazz floated from hidden speakers, smooth and sultry. Before Emma could protest, he drew her into his arms. His left hand clasped hers, his right settling firmly at her back, pulling her close. Emma inhaled sharply. His breath brushed her ear, his familiar scent disarming her composure. "Is this training or workplace harassment?" she managed, half joking, half nervous. Lucas leaned close, lips just a breath from her ear. "What do you think?" Words stuck in her throat. Step by step, he guided her across the vast living room, the chandelier light glinting above them. She tried to maintain space, but his hand at her back kept her close. Her pulse tangled with the rhythm of the music. I think this feels too real," Emma stammered. "Exactly." Lucas's whisper burned low. "Because we need to be real." They twirled, crystal light shimmering across her flushed cheeks. In that moment, she forgot she was just an assistant or a fake fiancé. All that remained was the suffocating closeness, the dizzying warmth. Lucas's gaze dropped to her trembling lips. He leaned in, closing the gap until only a sliver of space remained. Emma's eyes widened, her heart threatening to leap from her chest. But then her phone buzzed sharply in her pocket. Startled, she jerked back, face aflame. I have to take this call." She fumbled for her phone and hurried away, leaving Lucas standing still, his lips halted midair, his eyes shadowed with regret. The training ended soon after, but the air remained far hotter than the jazz that had played. Emma left the mansion with her cheeks still burning, muttering under her breath, "This isn't training. This is a death trap." Meanwhile, Lucas stood alone by the window, gazing down at the glowing New York streets. His hand still felt the warmth of her waist, his ears still echoed with the sound of her nervous laughter. He closed his eyes, exhaling softly. "This game," he thought, "I don't think I want it to end anymore." The sleek limousine rolled out from the mansion, heading back toward the city center. Late autumn skies over New York suddenly opened, heavy raindrops pelting against the glass. The roar of rain mixed with honking horns, creating a restless urban symphony. Emma sat in the back seat, doing her best to keep distance from Lucas by gluing her eyes to her phone. She opened a news app, but instead of reading the words, all she saw were photos. The gala kiss, the press conference kiss, the exaggerated close-ups of their longing gazes. Each image made her pulse quicken all over again. She sneaked a glance sideways. Lucas sat at ease beside her, leaning back, eyes fixed on the rain-blurred window. The dim light carved shadows across his sharp profile, straight nose, cut jawline, a face the business magazines once called ice-cold, emotionless. But after last night's training dance, Emma no longer believed in that word ice. Her cheeks heated as the memory flashed back, his hand on her back, his breath at her ear. Her heart thudded painfully in her chest. Desperate to distract herself, she blurted out, "The rain's really heavy. If it weren't for traffic, we'd already be back." Lucas turned to her, the corner of his mouth lifting. "Are you afraid of the rain?" "No, I just hate feeling trapped in a small space." Emma fumbled, then added quickly, "Especially when I'm stuck next to my boss." "Why's that?" Lucas tilted his head, his voice low. "Because you keep looking at me like that." Lucas chuckled softly, just a brief sound, but it reverberated in her chest. "Like what?" "Like you're about to do something you shouldn't." At that moment, the rain pounded harder. Streetlights filtered through street glass, painting the interior in golden haze. Inside the car, the distance between them seemed to shrink. Lucas leaned in slowly. Emma tensed, pressing back against the window, but his gaze pinned her in place. "And what if I am about to?" he murmured, voice like a low rumble of thunder. Emma's breath caught. Her heart hammered so violently it felt like it might shatter her ribs. Lucas lifted a hand, brushing a damp strand of hair clinging to her cheek. His fingers, warm against her skin, made her shiver. He lowered his face, his breath fanning across her lips. The space between them shrank to a mere breath. Emma squeezed her eyes shut instinctively. Outside, lightning flared, followed by a crack of thunder. Inside, the air was taut as a drawn bowstring. Lucas whispered, "Emma!" And right then, a sudden sound broke it. "Achoo!" Emma's eyes flew open. She had just sneezed, at the most cinematic moment possible. She clapped a hand over her mouth, mortified. Sorry, I think it's from getting damp last night near the pool while we were dancing. Lucas froze, then burst out laughing. A rare, deep, warm laugh that filled the small space. Emma frowned. Don't laugh. I just ruined your whole romantic scene. On the contrary, Lucas pressed his forehead lightly to hers, still smiling. I think you just saved me. Saved you? If it had gone any further, I don't think I would have stopped. Emma stiffened, her eyes widening. Her heart pitched wildly, shaken by the half-joking, half-confessional weight in his words. Lucas leaned back again, but his hand remained over hers, giving a gentle squeeze. So, thank you for the sneeze. Emma turned away, hiding her burning cheeks. Inside, though, she knew she had just escaped a sweet disaster, and at the same time, lost an opportunity she wasn't sure she truly wanted to avoid. When the car finally reached the hotel, the rain still poured. Lucas stepped out first, holding the umbrella above her as they walked together into the glowing lobby. A sharp flash went off. Some reporter had seized the moment. Instantly, Lucas pulled Emma against his chest, whispering, Just look at me. She did, and in the photo published the next morning, the world saw CEO Lucas Hale in the rain, umbrella in one hand, his fiancée tight in the other, his face tilted close, eyes blazing into hers. The internet gave it a name, the moment you can't stage. That night back in her room, Emma sat by the window in a daze. Her fingers brushed her lips, remembering that near kiss in the car, so close she could barely breathe. She whispered to herself, This is just pretending, Emma. Just pretending. But her heart betrayed her, aching with its reply. If it's pretend, why does it feel so real? Meanwhile, in his office, Lucas skimmed through reports on his laptop, but his eyes lingered on a candid photo someone had snapped. Emma under the umbrella, cheeks flushed, lips curved in a shy smile. Lucas chuckled softly. He knew he was already turning this act into reality. And next time, no sneeze in the world would stop him. Still following the story? If this story found you outside of Soul Stories, we invite you home, to where every touching tale begins with truth, hope, and heart. The exhausting whirlwind of city life. She longed to get away from the blinding lights and away from those pretend kisses that made her heart race in ways she didn't understand. As she wheeled her suitcase down the hall, Emma suddenly froze. Lucas was leaning casually against the wall, dressed in a dark suit, one hand in his pocket, as if he had been waiting there for some time. Mr. Hale, Emma frowned. Why are you here? Lucas shrugged, perfectly calm. Where are you going? Back home to visit my parents, Emma answered, with a hint of defiance. And no, this isn't a business trip. You don't need to come along. I'll come, Lucas said, as if it were the most natural thing in the world. Emma almost choked. No, this is my family, not one of your stage shows. You don't need to put on a performance there. Lucas raised an eyebrow, so composed that it only made Emma more irritated. I'm not putting on a performance. I just want to go with you. Mr. Hale, I really don't think... You don't need to think. He cut her off smoothly, bending down to lift her suitcase from her hand, as if it weighed nothing. The car's waiting. Emma gaped, speechless. Unbelievable. The man has no shame, she thought, but finally gave in and followed. Emma's hometown was a small town, about an hour's drive from Manhattan. As the car turned onto a tree-lined road under sprawling oaks, she exhaled in relief. Fresh air, little wooden houses, the faint scent of baked bread drifting by. Everything made her heart feel lighter. Lucas sat silently, gazing out at the view. He had never been anywhere so peaceful. No skyscrapers, no noise, just a kind of simplicity that felt utterly foreign. When the car stopped, Emma's mother rushed out, her hair streaked with gray, her smile warm, and pulled her daughter into a fierce hug. Emma, you're home. Mom. Emma's voice caught, then she quickly introduced, This is a colleague of mine. Lucas stepped forward, polite as ever, bowing slightly. I'm Lucas Hale. It's an honor to meet you. Her mother squinted playfully, lips curving in mischief. A colleague dressed this sharp, following her all the way here? Mom! Emma flailed in protest. Her father's laughter boomed from inside. Come in, come in. Dinner's hot on the table. That night, Lucas sat down at a family dinner table for the first time in his life. Not a lavish banquet with wine, not a boardroom with power plays. Just a small wooden table, roasted meat, a simple bowl of soup, yet filled with laughter. Emma's mother kept piling food onto his plate. Try this, I made it myself. Can you handle spicy food? You city folks always eat out. Don't you miss a home-cooked meal? Lucas, usually accustomed to people treading carefully around him, was suddenly flustered. He didn't know how to respond, only nodded and smiled. Emma sat across from him, giggling softly, enjoying the sight of her aloof boss transformed into a schoolboy on his first day of class. Her father told stories of Emma's childhood mischief, how she once fell from a tree and bruised her whole backside. Lucas listened intently, his gaze softening. In that moment, he realized he had never had this. A home, a dinner, unconditional affection. After dinner, Emma washed dishes with her mother, while Lucas joined her father outside in the garden. The older man handed him a cup of tea, speaking slowly. I don't know who you are in that big world out there, but I can see you care about Emma. Lucas hesitated, then gave a small nod. Yes, more than she realizes. Emma's father smiled, patting his shoulder. If that's true, then remember this. What Emma needs isn't money or glittering lights. She needs a man who values family. The words pierced through the icy armor Lucas had worn for years. He stayed quiet, but inside something strange and aching stirred, a longing for something he had never known. On the way back, the car rolled through the still night. Emma leaned against the window, her voice soft. So, what did you think? Lucas kept his eyes forward, his voice low. It was different, and I'm jealous. Emma turned, startled. In the glow of the passing streetlights, his face wasn't cold. It carried a deep, hidden sorrow. Jealous of what? Of you, of your family. Lucas sighed. I have everything, but I've never had a dinner like tonight. Emma's heart clenched. She had never seen Lucas so vulnerable. For the first time, she didn't see him as the proud CEO, but as a lonely man, aching for love. On an impulse she couldn't explain, Emma placed her hand gently over his. Then, come again next time. My parents would never close their door to you. Lucas turned to her, the silver in his eyes softening. He gave her hand a quiet squeeze, and for the first time in his life, Lucas Hale felt truly welcome. The frenzy over the press conference kiss hadn't even died down when an unexpected call came straight to Hale Corporation's executive office. The deep, icy voice on the other end froze the entire room. Tonight, you come home. We need to address what the press has been saying. It was Henry Hale, Lucas's father. Lucas ended the call, face unreadable. But Emma, standing nearby, noticed the way his hand tightened around the phone. Moments later, he turned to her. You're coming with me tonight. What? Emma nearly dropped the stack of files in her hands. Me? To your house? If you've stepped into this game, then coming with me is inevitable. Emma opened her mouth to argue, but the unyielding steel in his silver-gray eyes stopped her cold. She sighed. Fine, but if your parents throw a chair at me, I'm running first. Lucas gave a low chuckle but didn't answer. The Hale estate sat atop a hill on the outskirts of Manhattan, a palatial mansion so vast Emma felt like she was walking into a fortress. But unlike the warmth of her parents' wooden cottage back home, this house radiated chill, long carpeted halls echoing with silence, heavy oil paintings glaring down from the walls with the weight of authority. Henry Hale was already seated in the grand parlor. His face was lined, stern, and his black eyes cut like blades. Around him sat other family members, their expressions sharp, their gazes raking over Emma from head to toe, as though measuring her worth. So this is the new fiancé you so boldly paraded before the press? Henry's voice was clipped, every syllable hard. Emma froze, but before she could stammer, Lucas spoke firmly. This is Emma Clark, and yes, She's the one I've chosen. A flicker of irritation passed through Henry's eyes. He set his teacup down with a sharp clink. You always find new ways to disappoint me. Instead of focusing on business, you've turned this family into a public spectacle. Emma's chest tightened under the weight of his disapproval. The atmosphere was suffocating, but beneath the table, Lucas's hand closed over hers, steady and sure. The small squeeze said it all. Don't be afraid. I'm here. Dinner was unbearable. Henry barely spoke. The others exchanged only cold remarks about contracts and stocks. No one asked Lucas a personal question. No one acknowledged Emma at all. Emma's throat tightened. In her mind, she saw the stark contrast. Her father's hearty laughter at the dinner table back home, her mother slipping extra food into her bowl, the golden warmth of their kitchen. Here, everything felt lifeless and frigid. Then, unexpectedly, one voice broke the silence. The girl is sweet. Emma glanced up. The words had come from the far end of the table. Margaret Hale, Lucas's grandmother. Her smile was kind, her voice soft and warm. Come here, sit by me. Relieved, Emma rose and slid into the seat beside her. Margaret clasped her hand gently, whispering, Don't let the chill of this house make you tremble. I'm here. Emma's throat burned, emotion swelling. After dinner, Margaret led Emma to the veranda for tea. In the dim glow of lanterns, her voice softened into memory. You know, Lucas wasn't always so cold. Emma blinked. He wasn't. As a boy, he was tender, full of feeling, but his mother left when he was only 6. His father was always busy and always demanding perfection. He grew up surrounded by power, but starved of affection. Margaret's eyes clouded with sorrow. I still remember one time he brought home a failing grade. All he needed was a hug. Instead, he was shouted at until he began to cry. That was when he learned to hide his feelings, to turn himself to ice. But truthfully, he's only been protecting himself all these years. Emma sat silently, her heart tightening. She had never imagined that behind his proud, untouchable facade was a childhood so stark and loveless. Margaret squeezed her hand, smiling gently. You're the first person I've seen him bring home with that look in his eyes. Don't let go of him, dear. Emma's eyes stung. She could only nod. Late that night, unable to sleep, Emma slipped out to the garden pool. The water glowed dark under the silver moonlight, rippling softly. She wrapped a thin silk dress around herself, the night breeze teasing its hem like waves. Footsteps sounded behind her. Can't sleep? Lucas's low voice carried across the night. Emma turned. He approached, draping his suit jacket gently over her shoulders. It's chilly out here. She tilted her face up to him, meeting his silver gray eyes glowing under the moon. Margaret's words echoed in her mind. He's only been protecting himself. Thank you, she whispered, her voice trembling. Lucas lowered his head, the distance between them shrinking until only a breath remained. You're the first person who makes me not want to pretend anymore. Before she could respond, his lips found hers. It wasn't like before. No stage performance for cameras, no desperate ploy for the press. This kiss was slow, gentle, unguarded. It was Lucas. Not the cold CEO, not the man scrutinized by his father, but a man yearning to be loved, to be believed in. Emma trembled, then closed her eyes and kissed him back. Her heart melted into his. She knew, with piercing clarity, this was no longer part of the act. This was real, and she didn't want to escape it. One weekday afternoon, Emma had just stepped out of her office when she noticed unusual commotion on the 40th floor. Employees whispered. Curious glances darted toward the elevator. When the doors slid open, a figure emerged, one Emma had hoped never to face again. Celeste Monroe. The movie star, the woman who once held Lucas's hand on red carpets, the official fiancée he'd once flaunted before the world, now appeared as flawless as ever. A fiery red dress clung to her curves, her voluminous curls framed her face, and her lips curved in a confident smile, and her eyes locked straight on Emma. Emma's heart clenched. Celeste strode forward, heels clicking sharply against the marble. Stopping in front of Emma, she tilted her head, a smirk tugging her lips. So, you're the new fiancé the press has been buzzing about? Emma tried to stay calm. I don't think we need to, but Celeste cut in, her voice slicing like a blade. Don't be naive. He's just using you. Lucas is a man of calculation. The one he loves is still me. The words hit like a stone dropped into her chest. Emma froze. She bit her lip, forcing a thin smile. If you came here just to... I came to remind you not to fool yourself. Celeste's tone sharpened. He'll tire of you soon enough. He belongs to my world, not yours. Emma felt her chest tighten, breath catching. She wanted to argue, but her mind spun with images. The staged kisses before the cameras, the arrangement of being his fake fiancé, Lucas's cryptic words about how hard it was to keep distance. Could it be that all of it was really just theater? She turned away, unwilling to let Celeste see her eyes brimming red. That evening, Emma asked to leave work early. She walked alone beneath rows of streetlights, letting the cold wind sting her cheeks. Celeste's words kept echoing. He's just using you. The one he loves is still me. She thought of those kisses. Were they only mute buttons? She thought of Lucas's gaze. Was it all just an act for the press? Her heart twisted painfully. What am I doing? She whispered. I'm just an assistant, an ordinary girl. And he's... Her phone buzzed. A message from Lucas. Where are you? Emma stared at the screen, then switched it off. She didn't know if she had the courage to face him. Meanwhile, back at the office, Lucas confronted Celeste directly. What are you doing here? His voice was low, eyes like ice. Celeste smiled, stepping closer with deliberate grace. Lucas, we were once the ultimate power couple. You and I together. Every eye followed us. Don't you remember that? I remember, Lucas nodded, but only as a business deal. Celeste faltered just for a beat before regaining her poise. You can say that, but I know the truth. You've never loved anyone but me. That girl, she's just filling a gap. Lucas's fist tightened. In his mind, Emma's mischievous smile flashed, the small trembling hand he held, and the hesitant yet radiant eyes that shone under the moonlight by the pool. He stepped forward, meeting Celeste eye to eye, his voice resolute. You're wrong. Celeste arched a brow. Wrong? I have loved. His words were deliberate, each one cutting clear. But not you. Celeste's eyes widened. In his silver-gray gaze, there was no familiar coldness, only fire. Fire that burned only when he spoke of Emma. Celeste laughed weakly, though the sound wavered. She's clouding your judgment. Sooner or later, you'll see. No! Lucas cut her off, firm. I've never been more certain of anything. Silence hung. Celeste's eyes flickered with hurt, edged with anger. Then she spun on her heel and strode out, leaving the room heavy with finality. That night, Lucas went to Emma's apartment. He knocked. No answer. He tried again, voice rougher now. Emma, open the door. It's me. Still silence. He exhaled, resting his forehead against the wood. I know she came to you. I know she said things to hurt you. But listen to me. She's no longer a part of me. Only you are. Inside, Emma sat curled on the couch, knees pulled to her chest, heart racing as his voice seeped through the door. Lucas's tone grew husky, almost breaking. Emma, you have the right to doubt, but you can't deny what's between us. Because I swear, I've never kissed anyone the way I kiss you. I've never wanted to hold anyone the way I want to hold you. He stood there for a long time. Then at last, whispered softly, I'll wait, as long as it takes until you believe me. His footsteps faded into the night. Emma buried her face into her knees, tears spilling hot. She didn't know if she could believe him, but her heart, her traitorous, aching heart, had already answered long ago. In the days that followed, Emma deliberately avoided Lucas. She arrived at the office earlier than usual, left later than everyone else, and even took the service elevator to minimize the chance of running into him. When her phone rang and his name lit up the screen, she instantly silenced it. Text messages poured in, but she didn't reply to a single one. Her heart ached every time Celeste's words replayed in her mind. He's just using you. The one he loves is still me. And it ached just as much when she recalled Lucas's voice outside her door that night. I've never wanted to keep anyone the way I want to keep you. She didn't know whom to believe. Her reason, or the heart that had long betrayed her. That evening, Emma tried to slip out through the side exit, but just as she turned, a tall figure blocked her way. Lucas. Dark gray suit, loosened tie, silver eyes burning with fierce fire. Emma froze, pulse racing. Mr. Hale, what are you doing here? Waiting for you. His voice was low, every word heavy as stone. I'm busy. I have to. Before she could finish, Lucas moved, swift, unyielding, until her back hit the cold wall. He braced one arm against it, caging her in with his solid frame. His gaze blazed, his breath searing against her skin. You're not escaping me. His whisper was rough, thunder rumbling in his chest. Emma trembled. Lucas, I can't. Can't what? Can't trust me. Can't trust what you feel every time I touch you? She tried to push him away, her hand pressed weakly against his chest. But Lucas didn't budge. His heartbeat thudded against her palm. Powerful, undeniable. He leaned closer, his voice raw. Can you really avoid me forever, Emma? His silver gray eyes locked onto hers, leaving her nowhere to hide. And then, without waiting another second, Lucas lowered his head. His lips claimed hers. The kiss was explosive, consuming, shattering every wall she had built. It tore down defenses, swept her into its storm. Lucas, she gasped between ragged breaths, hands trembling against him. But Lucas only pulled her closer, one hand cradling the back of her head, the other gripping her waist, holding her as if he'd never let go. Stop denying it. His voice was a growl against her lips. You belong to me. A tear slipped down Emma's cheek. She wanted to resist, yet she was being devoured whole. And at last her hand loosened against his chest. She yielded. At first her response was trembling, hesitant. Then slowly it burst forth. She kissed him back, pouring out every feeling she had locked away. No more distance, no more logic. Only two hearts pounding wildly in the same rhythm. When they finally broke apart, both were breathless, foreheads pressed together, sharing the same air. Emma's voice trembled, eyes misted. This isn't an arrangement anymore. Lucas's lips curved, eyes alight with triumph, the greatest he'd ever known. He tipped her chin up, murmuring against her lips. You're right. It was never an arrangement. This is the truth. Emma bit her lip, tears slipping down, but the corners of her mouth lifted faintly. Her heart had melted, shattering every pretense. That night, Emma returned to her apartment, her body still trembling. She stared at her reflection in the mirror, fingers brushing her lips, pulse racing. I really kissed him, she whispered. But deep down she knew. From that moment, everything had changed. She was no longer the assistant playing pretend fiancé. She was Emma Clark, and she had given her heart to Lucas Hale. Across the city, Lucas stood alone by the window of his high-rise office, Manhattan's lights sprawling below. For the first time in years, he felt whole. Not because of power, not because of fame, but because of a name that echoed with every breath he took. Emma. He knew from this night on, he would never let her slip from his arms again. The news detonated like a bomb. That morning, the front pages of 3 major financial papers carried the same headline in bold. Lucas Hale fakes a romance to manipulate stock prices. The articles dissected everything, from the shocking Gala kiss to Lucas's many public appearances with Emma. The writer insisted it was nothing more than a cheap PR stunt, orchestrated to distract from Hale Enterprises' volatile stock amid recent merger talks. His longtime rival, Redmond Corporation, gleefully poured gasoline on the fire. If a CEO can't keep his personal life in order, how can he be trusted to steer a multinational? The entire city buzzed. Shareholders panicked. Reporters swarmed the Hale Enterprises building, cameras and microphones choking the entrance. On the 50th floor, the boardroom was taut as a wire. The directors sat in a long line, dark suits crisp, faces carved from stone. Headlines scrolled across the giant screen at the end of the room, stabbing at Lucas's credibility like 1,000 knives. Chairman Pearson rapped his knuckles against the table. Lucas, we have always trusted you. But this time, you've thrown the company into chaos. Another director leaned forward, voice low but cutting. Your fiancé walks out, and suddenly an assistant becomes your lover? The press has reason to doubt. We demand you end this charade. Charade! The word echoed in Lucas's skull like steel scraping against steel. He sat upright, expression cold though his restraint was taut as wire. You want me to end things with Emma? Exactly. Pearson's tone was sharp, final. Shareholders need stability, not a scandalous love affair. The room stilled. Every eye bore into Lucas. He inhaled deeply. Then unexpectedly a laugh broke from him. Dry, low, a blade slicing through the tense air. Rising, he planted his hands on the gleaming table, his gaze sweeping over them all. I've run Hale Enterprises since I was 27, tripled its value, led thousands of employees through economic storms. And now because I love a woman, you want to erase all that? One director bristled. We're not dismissing your record, but the company's image. Image, Lucas cut in, voice like tempered steel. Image isn't built on lies, and I don't need anyone's permission to love her. The declaration thundered through the chamber, shattering the oppressive silence like a lightning strike. A few faces gaped. Others scowled in disapproval, but Lucas no longer cared. He straightened, buttoned his vest, and strode from the room, leaving a storm of whispers in his wake. Late afternoon, Emma sat in her small apartment, staring at a cup of tea gone cold. The past days had been a whirlwind. From an anonymous assistant, she had become the center of an entire city, admired by some, scorned by others, and now new rumors slicing into her heart like knives. He only used you to cover a scandal. The words echoed, burning behind her eyes. Suddenly, a sharp knock rattled the door. Before she could react, it swung open. Lucas stepped inside. He looked exhausted, tie loose, eyes bloodshot, but burning with determination. Emma jolted upright. What are you doing here? Lucas said nothing. He crossed the room in 2 strides and pulled her into his arms. Emma stiffened, instinctively trying to push him away. But his embrace was too tight, too warm, too desperately human. His voice cracked hoarsely against her ear. I won't lose you. Even if the whole world turns against us, I'll prove it. I'll prove to us. Emma froze, breath catching. Her heart ached, trembling as she slowly yielded to his hold. In that moment, she understood. This wasn't a charade. It wasn't a scheme. It was real. Because Lucas Hale, the coldest man she had ever known, was trembling in her arms. Outside the window, the city still roared with rumors and flashing headlines. But inside this small apartment, there were only 2 people, holding on to each other as if it were the only refuge left in the storm. The day of truth. The ballroom of the Metropole Hotel, the venue for the official press conference of Hale Enterprises, was packed that morning. Hundreds of journalists crammed in, camera flashes fired nonstop, and the noise buzzed like a shattered beehive. Major television networks were broadcasting live. From scathing articles to the pressure of the board of directors, everything had driven Lucas to a dead end. But he had chosen to face it, not to run. Emma sat backstage, her heart pounding wildly. The simple navy blue dress, hurriedly prepared, could not hide the trembling of her hands. Why had she agreed to appear here? She wasn't sure. Perhaps it was because of Lucas's eyes last night. Steady, burning, as if he truly needed her. The door opened. Lucas walked in. He wore a black suit and a silver tie, the lights reflecting on his handsome yet weary face. And yet to Emma, he looked stronger than ever. Lucas extended his hand. Come with me. Emma looked at that hand, hesitated for a moment, then placed hers in his. His grip tightened gently, a silent reassurance. Blinding flashes exploded as the couple stepped onto the stage. The entire room fell silent for a brief second, then erupted into a wave of questions. Mr. Hale, is your relationship nothing but a publicity stunt? Miss Emma, are you being forced into this? Was the gala night staged from the beginning? The chaos of voices, microphones shoved forward, each question striking like a hammer. Lucas did not dodge. He held Emma's hand firmly, pulling her close, then looked straight into the rows of cameras. His voice was low, clear, each word resonating through the microphone. Yes, on Gala night, I kissed her to protect my honor and the company's reputation. The room exploded into murmurs. Cameras flashed frantically. Emma held her breath, her heart stopping in her chest. Lucas paused, his eyes shifting to Emma. Then turning back to the cameras, he continued. But today, I kiss her for a different reason, because I love her. The sound in the ballroom drained away in an instant. Silence. Emma's eyes widened. Her whole body trembled. The word love dropped from his lips like lightning out of a clear sky. Lucas didn't stop. He lowered the microphone, turning fully toward Emma, his voice hoarse but earnest, just for her. I've pretended for too long. I can't anymore. Emma, you are not a plan. You are the only truth in all this chaos. Before hundreds of cameras, before countless watchful eyes, Lucas leaned down and kissed her. The kiss was slow, deep, no longer rushed, no longer a desperate cover-up like at the gala. This was real, filled with all the longing, all the confessions words could never hold. Flashes went off like lightning. The entire ballroom erupted in shouts, gasps, and even cheers from a few young reporters. Emma was stunned. Every thought in her mind vanished. There was only his warmth, the intensity of his lips, and the pounding of their hearts as one. Tears slipped down her cheeks, but Emma smiled, a smile both trembling and radiant. When Lucas finally pulled back, she whispered, choked but resolute, You're insane, but I can't deny it anymore either. The noise from the floor swelled like a tidal wave. Someone shouted, This is real! God, that chemistry can't be faked. Emma wrapped her arms tightly around Lucas, as if to show the whole world. She had chosen too. Lucas held her close, smiling faintly but with firm determination. Under the dazzling lights they stood there, a cold CEO once branded emotionless, and an ordinary assistant once invisible in the crowd, now the center of the universe. From afar, live broadcasts captured every second. Millions of viewers sat stunned in front of their screens. But in that moment, for Lucas and Emma, the outside world blurred away. There were only the two of them, in a confession that could never be taken back, and in a love that could never be denied. 1 year later, spring had returned to New York. The trees in Central Park sprouted fresh green buds that glittered in the soft sunlight. In a glass tower near Fifth Avenue, the words Gala Hearts Foundation glowed proudly on a brushed steel sign. Emma stood by the wide window, holding the first annual report of the charity foundation she and Lucas had founded together. The name Gala Hearts had been chosen to honor that fateful gala night, the night when a pretend kiss opened the door to real love. The foundation specializes in providing scholarships for underprivileged children and supporting community health projects. Emma smiled as her eyes fell on the bold print on the cover page. More than 500 children supported in the first year. Her heart warmed in a way words could hardly capture. The door behind her opened. Lucas walked in, tossing his suit jacket onto a chair, tie slightly loosened, his face showing fatigue, but his smile for her was radiant. Still working, Miss Galaharts? Emma turned, arching a brow. Look who's talking, Mr. CEO. Who just came out of a 4-hour marathon meeting? Lucas shrugged, walked over, and wrapped his arms around her from behind, resting his chin lightly on her shoulder. But you know, no meeting matters more than a single minute by your side. Emma laughed, lightly tapping the report folder against his chest. There you go again with those dangerously sweet lines. Lucas only tightened his hold, his voice dropping lower, more serious. I never thought a year could change so much. Without you, I'd still be that cold man who only cared about profit. Emma tilted her head and pressed a soft kiss to his cheek. Then I'll award myself a medal for successfully reforming a stone-cold CEO into a man who knows how to hug his wife from behind. Lucas burst out laughing and pulled her even tighter, as if to etch the moment into memory. That evening, Emma had no idea Lucas had planned something special. He invited her to a small rooftop dinner, using the excuse of celebrating the first year's successful report. Emma agreed, thinking it was just a simple private meal. But when the elevator doors opened, she froze. The rooftop had been transformed into a sea of flickering candles. A small table, draped in white linen, stood at the center, topped with a vase of fresh red roses, and a low-hanging crystal chandelier glimmered above. Beyond, the New York skyline blazed with lights, mirrored in the Hudson River. Emma whispered in awe, "Lucas, this is—" He stepped forward, politely pulled out a chair for her, his eyes alight with both joy and nerves. "Sit. Tonight there are no stocks, no boardrooms, just you and me." They dined under the stars, laughing and reminiscing about everything, from that first gala night to their petty arguments, even the moment Emma had been so furious she threatened to walk out. Emma nearly doubled over when Lucas admitted, "I took dance lessons just to show off, teaching you, but I almost crushed your toes that night." "Oh, I remember," Emma laughed brightly, the mighty CEO with a face redder than a tomato. Lucas chuckled, but then fell quiet. He stood, reached into his jacket pocket, and pulled out a small navy velvet box. Emma's breath caught. Lucas knelt before her. Candlelight flickered in his eyes, making them shine like a star-filled sky. "Emma, we started with a lie, but you are the only truth I've ever found. No more pretending, no more contracts, no more roles. Just you and me. Real." He opened the box. Inside lay a platinum ring, crowned with a sparkling blue diamond. Emma was stunned. Tears welled in her eyes as she heard his next words. "Marry me. Let me love you for the rest of my life." The world seemed to stop in that instant. Emma covered her mouth, shoulders trembling. She laughed through her tears, nodding repeatedly. "Yes, I do." Lucas rose, pulling her into his arms, kissing her deeply. On that rooftop, aglow with candlelight, in the city that never sleeps, they found peace that belonged only to the two of them. Months later, waves whispered against the shore, the salty breeze filling the Caribbean air. A long aisle of white flowers lined the beach, chairs facing a grand floral arch on the sand. Emma, in a pure white wedding gown, walked the path with eyes fixed on Lucas, standing at the end, waiting in an elegant white suit. His gaze locked on her, burning with love, as though the world held nothing but the woman walking toward him. When her hand slipped into his, the world seemed to burst open. The officiant asked, and Lucas answered first, his voice carrying across the beach, "I vow to love her, not just today, but forever." Emma's turn came. Her voice trembled. "I vow to walk with you through every storm and every sunrise." The officiant declared them husband and wife. Lucas bent down and kissed Emma under the night sky. At that exact moment, fireworks exploded, painting the heavens in color, their brilliance mirrored on the sea. Applause, cheers, and waves fused into one endless symphony. The kiss lingered, deep and unending, as if it would never stop. 1 year after the wedding, the Hale kitchen glowed with warm light. Emma was tasting sauce when Lucas suddenly wrapped his arms around her from behind and stole a kiss on her cheek. "Lucas, I'm cooking!" she scolded lightly, lips curving upward. "Just adding a little seasoning," he murmured, kissing her lips this time. At the office, in the middle of a tense board meeting, Emma entered with documents. Lucas didn't bother to restrain himself. He pulled her close and kissed her quickly in front of his stunned executives. Emma flushed, whispering, "You're embarrassing." Lucas smirked. "Not embarrassing, just letting the world know you're mine." And in the afternoons, whenever they crossed paths in the hallway, their eyes would meet, and they'd lean in for a quick kiss, as natural as breathing. Because after all the storms, after all the lies, only one truth remained. They loved each other, and they always would.